So trying to get through the legs onto the ground or into the ground. Rather than settling onto the legs, I'm trying to go through them. So that just means I need a really active sense of my lower body from my min meng down. That has to be the most active part of my body. So when we're doing Tai Chi, our attention and our mind should be in the lower body. And then the upper body is just doing its thing, you know. The upper body is more like a reflection of the lower body. So here I'm trying to get through the leg and into the ground. Yeah, so just we all know the feeling of hollow chest. You know, when you hollow the chest, the back rounds and the chest comes in a bit. So you just want the feeling that you can hollow here. So you can draw your Dan Chen in, and this will naturally round out the lower back. So the lordosis will actually just reverse, if anything. So without that, we just settle onto the legs rather than get through them. So this real sense that this is where I am, and this is really sort of muscular. And it can draw in, and it can push out. So I'm going through the leg. My spine extends down, projects down, if you like, into the foot. So there's a sense that my spine is getting into the ground rather than settling on top of the legs. And the dantian is this ring muscle, this sphincter that is tight And that tightness here enables this to round out. And now let's start feeling the full and empty. So the full leg and the empty leg. So the full leg is closed in the sense that it's contracted in order to support, and the empty leg is open. So the toes are extending, and then they just reverse. Okay, so so this is real sense that you can get down through the legs. So you're really sort of elastic between the ground and where you stand. So if you imagine like elastic, I used to work with those, those bands, those big, thick elastic bands, like one with it under each foot on the shoulder. So it was always pulling me down. Yeah. So in a sense that the higher up I am, the more I'm working, because the more that elastic is pulling. So there's that sense that you belong down there. Yeah, and it's actually quite an effort to be up here. So that is natural, that is there, and we just cut off from it with our mind. We just, the mind blanks out, and I've got my head in the clouds then. Yeah, we're just trying to wake up to forces that are naturally there, just working on us, that we just cut out. in order to feed our own sense of self. Okay, so let's just work on the figures of eights a little bit. So just a feeling that, you know, if you think of the centers of the, you know, the dantian, the heart and the head, behind there's this shape, like the buttocks, the shoulder blades, and then the back of the head here. So we're just sort of slipping down. So it comes out of the min meng, if you like, or the top of the sacrum, and then just down. So it's there's a sense of it sliding down the back before it then comes up. So a sense of slipping down the back of the leg and then rising up the front. Like you know, I think it's a book on Sing Yi, and he says, you know, droop the buttocks and slump the shoulders. Yeah, so it's almost a sense that your buttocks are melting down the backs of your legs. So sort of becoming fluid. There's a viscous fluidity to you. You flow into the leg. And then just bringing it up to the heart, and now just it goes through and then just under the shoulder blade and up into the shoulder. So it's sort of dropping down the back a little bit. Yeah, so we're working with like images So it's of the imagination, but we want an imagination that's of the body rather than of the mind. So it's not fantasy, it's not the mind thinking fantastical things. It's the body feeling things that are actually there, but they sort of manifest as images which may or may not be actualities. So feeling it entering at the heart. So the heart is the low heart, really. It's not the thymus. It's getting in really deep. And then just stop moving so much side to side, and now just really sort of just, it comes through. Yeah, so it's not so much a linear train. It's like as it's coming in here, it's already coming around here. It's almost like there's two figures of eights, and they're sort of slipping in and out. And then just bringing it up into the head. Yeah, so we're just trying to just relax. Relax is the operative word, really. But we're trying to relax those tensions that we impose ourselves in order to keep the world the way we think it is. So just sort of just destabilizing it and just, we want to work in such a way that the work generates new material. And for that, you just need to relax more than you've ever relaxed before, basically. Okay. So now let's just bring it to riding horse. So we're just trying to relax into our energy so that the energy can show us the way. The mind will always get it wrong, almost by definition. The ego always aims to maintain the status quo, so it hates change. It likes diversity. The sort of philosophers make a great thing now of the difference between diversity and real change. So diversity is like changing the scenery, like sort of going on holiday, having a chat, that sort of a change that you come back from. Yeah. Whereas real change is terrifying and it's challenging and it's really difficult because basically you're coming out of a settled state and into a more fluid state. Okay, and now let's just feeling the foot reaching out and taking the ground. So we want the sense that this thing of the empty foot reaching for the ground and then pulling you into it, that should be something that's there all the time, especially when you're doing the form, but also when you're walking or running. It's the foot that goes forwards that grabs the ground to pull you forwards, not the foot you're coming out of. If you're working with spirit, especially like when you're running, you can, like you're on a conveyor belt, you're pulling the belt back that way in order to, and then you can just run very lightly. It's almost like the foot barely touches the ground. So here there's this, I want this feeling that my spirit really wakens up and I pull something into me. So this is Dr. Chi par excellence, yeah. You see the way he does his form, there's a bounce to it, because each time he steps something, there's this sort of feeling. Yeah, he catches something. He's yielding to spirit. So John always said what made him the consummate yielder of his generation is the fact that he yielded to spirit. He didn't yield to the body. He caught the person's entirety and just swallowed it up, and then just turned his waist a little bit so that it wouldn't knock him over. So it was an act of compassion, yeah, yielding as compassion rather than avoidance. Yeah. So, ooh. So I swallow that bit of ground. It comes right up into my dantian. I don't settle onto the leg. I've yielded to that bit of ground. I've dug in under it like a digger, like a bulldozer. And I've claimed it. Way. And this is just naturally makes the body sort of compact and usable, yeah, unified. Yeah, so what we want to have, what we have to be able to do really is activate the spirit. Yeah. So here, when my foot goes out, it's not just a matter of poking my foot out. Something in me has to really open up. So way, the eyes swell, the eyes shine. So I mean it, yeah. I'm not just doing a relaxed exercise. I really mean this thing. It's coming from my heart. So way. So just feeling the spine just going down. So this area is just really difficult because this singularity, the spine, has to split into two. So this sense of what happens here? Oh, how do I get that split? I have to just really relax around the sacrum. And then you get this sense of the legs grabbing the ground. Yeah, so the I, the ego, is very much a one thing. Yeah. So it finds duality difficult. Yeah. This is why they talk about non-duality, spiritual people. But what it is, it's not non-duality. It's not making a choice between the two. Everything is dual. Everything is double. That's what Taoism teaches us. Everything has a yin and a yang, but we just don't make a choice. We don't say, okay, I want the yang, but I don't want the yin. Yeah, you realize they're both part of the parcel. Yeah, And the ego doesn't like that. The ego wants to make choices and have opinions. So yeah, this is my opinion, fuck yours, yeah. And it's just getting to that point where the mind just doesn't behave like that anymore. And that just really requires integration. So this area just, in a physical sense, the way that we work with the body. So it's like you just, your mind doesn't see and listen to the normal things, yeah. So when someone is, shitting their opinion on you, what you don't really hear it, you just see this frightened person that loves the sound of their own mouth, yeah, their own voice. So you're on a deeper level. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to relax in order to slip beneath the veneer of appearances of the ego. The ego is, by definition, it's superficial. It's just a surface. So this is diversity. We have a very diverse surface, a surface that has all these different things, all these excitements, all these different toffees and chocolates. But underneath that, we want to just get underneath it, yeah, because we're just interested in what's in our depths rather than what's on our surface, yeah. And it's always something almost, what's deep inside you is like the opposite of what's on the surface. So, I'm really interested in Francis Bacon's work at the moment, the painter. And he was such a lovely man, so really well spoken, and he was just a fantastic listener. When he spoke to you, he was just really interested in you, and that just drew you out. So everyone loved him. And yet, obviously, from his pictures, beneath that, there was something really quite dark and disturbed, yeah? But he wasn't afraid to let it out, to let it come through. Most of us we don't even realize it's there, yeah? Maybe it comes through in dreams a little bit. But it's like, it's only from that depth that there's a reality, there's a real communicative power. Bacon said, I want my paintings to directly impact the viewer's nervous system. I don't want it to go through their mind, So it was from his nervous system directly to the viewer's nervous system, like a real shock, yeah. Okay, now let's just squat down. So just feel how, how something in you just becomes more serious, more settled. So we have to be able to just, I've got a student and she's a real whinger. And so basically when I do anything with her, she moans, yeah. Oh, it hurts my legs. Oh, it's hurting my back, So we have to just have enough courage and strength, really, just to get through the discomfort and the pain so that we can feel what's really there. We can feel the benefit of these things. What's it doing to my soul? Not, So this sense that you almost disappear into this layer. So your body becomes the layer from which you are ready to leap, to catch prey, to catch power and energy. So the back becomes really rounded, especially around the min meng. This is what we're trying to do. And you just want to feel the lower spine from the min meng down. It really feels. So when I do it with my students, and we're sort of facing each other in this position, we just hold hands and just lean back. And then you get a real feeling of the bottom part of the spine coming under. They hate it. One of the reasons I do it. So Samuel Beckett, when someone interviewed him and said, why did you start writing in French rather than English, which is your native language? And he just said, because it's difficult. Yeah, so when something is difficult, you have to be really mindful of it. You can't be careless, yeah. He called English that horrible language. So for him, the real struggle was then not writing in French, but translating it into English. Yeah. He found that really difficult. That used to take him longer than actually writing the thing. And then just placing the hands, just feeling that, just a natural earthing. And then let's just bring it, and just to make it a bit more difficult, just slipping the hands through. Just trying to loosen the hips, but just feeling that the proximity of the ground and just how it really affects the Dan Chen and your mind. Okay, then let's just sit. Yeah, so this is, we could meditate like this, but we won't. Yeah, so like the spine has come down and has just entered the ground and can just roam under the ground. Yeah, and just bear in mind, these exercises that we're using the body to get into energy. They're energy exercises, not physical ones really, necessarily. I mean, you could turn it into a stretching exercise, but it's more a listening exercise. It's the one thing we don't like doing. We don't like listening. You don't need to listen to fools. You don't need to listen to people. But you need to listen to energy. Yeah? And just get into the muscles in the lower back. Yeah. So you place your hands on the ground and you sort of extend them into the ground, intend them into the ground, not by straightening the arms, but by just bringing some energy into these muscles in the back. Yeah. So it's like a spirited intensity rather than the physical effort. And the pressure on the ground also presses my sitting bones into the ground, because the ground comes up my arms and down my back into my dantian and sitting bones. And then just the hands in front. And now, in order to get the pressure pressing down, just tighten the muscles in the belly. So I'm sort of trying to do this, just using the muscles in the belly and the dantian in order to extend my hands down into the ground. And then just feel the ground coming up the arms and down the spine. And then just place the hands behind, and then just use the muscles in the lower back. So just tighten those slightly. So you're trying to sort of rear up like this in order to get pressure through the arms on the ground, but only gently. Because what I'm really trying to get is the ground coming up my arm. So I'm pushing the ground to get the ground to come into me, basically. We're just using the arms the way we would like to use the legs. Yeah. So we're just trying to understand how I can use these limbs to get the ground to come into me. You can do it with the wall. And then we just try and reproduce that with the legs. So again, I just press into the ground, but not by doing this, which will tend to push me away from the ground. I just use these muscles here because I want the ground to come up into my shoulders and down my back. So open-ended, we're not a closed system. Wherever I touch the world, that world comes into me. The ego will always try and keep it out. So it considers the ground this sort of hard surface that I can rest upon. But in energy terms, it's a pure interface of exchange. Yeah? And if you can just keep your mind and your intensity on it, then it'll just feel like the hands are moving. And obviously they're not. And so it's obviously something deep inside you that's moving. So it's beginning to wake up the animal, the snakes, the pythons, or your unconscious is stirring. And then just bring it back into the squat. Yeah, so we have the earth beneath us and we have the sky above us. And we just want to feel that. Okay, and now let's just bring it up. Again, just really feeling like you just don't want to come up, it just feels quieter, more peaceful, more real just down there. So as soon as you stand, you come back to the unreality of your own thoughts. We just have to realize, become convinced that basically what's going on up here is all bullshit. Okay, and now let's just breathe a little bit. And just feel it. It's like there's something in you that's just trying to break free of the ground. And there's the better part of you that's wiser, that just knows it's not a good idea. So you just play with those two forces. Yeah? So here, as I breathe in, there's this sense that, oh, I want to pop out of that. I want to sort of break. I want the bubble to burst. But then I don't quite let it. I almost let it. But then it sort of comes back. Just feel the feet on the ground. You want them to be really open. So this sense of almost like two arms coming out of the ground and coming up, just trying to grab you by the balls or by the dantian. And if you can, just breathing through the small hole in the mouth. We're just trying to make it as basically as difficult as possible. It's just this side of possible. So that's where we dwell on the boundary between the possible and the impossible, the known and the unknown. And you don't need to even go out of the house for that. You just need to start working with spirit. And then it will just take you. As John used to say, when you practice, you just want it to take you somewhere you've never been before. And it's always willing to do that if you can just forget self and just let the spirit rise, which is what's wanting to happen. If you tell yourself, I'm too tired, or not today, then basically you're practicing failure. And now just bringing it into the turning. And so just try not to let the hips turn. Just you're turning against the hips. Like there's two parts of you. There's part of you that's still standing stationary and riding horse. And then there's another part of you that's just twisting side to side. Wow. It's like those sort of, you know, Samuel Beckett novels or short texts. You call them texts for nothing. You know, where the protagonist is basically just struggling and managing against the odds. Yeah, they're just crawling through the mud in the darkness. Yeah, and that's all they can remember ever having done. And so it's just a real struggle. So every simple act requires spirit. It's like my old people. Yeah, the whole space just vibrates with spirit because they're so careful with everything that they do. Everything takes ages. You know, even just turning around, they know it's going to make them lightheaded and dizzy, so they have to be holding on to something. My 100-year-old was telling me, you know, just the ordeal she has to go through to do her laundry. Yeah. So she has to put every article of clothing in one at a time because the other hand has to be holding on to something to stop herself from falling. Yeah, but it just means that they just do everything with real concentration, with real spirit. So they have character. So character is what you develop when you suffer. When you come through suffering, your character has changed. So that's what we're trying to develop. People don't really talk about it anymore because there's very few people that have it, unless they're of the poor minority, which we tend not to see. And then just let it go. Just let it become this exercise. So just feel the ground pulling your mind, pulling the contents of your mind down. You're being drained all the time. Okay. So just feel the min meng. Let's just lean against the wall. So just leaning with the back. And just try and get the min meng actually resting on the wall. So this sense that the min meng is just extending through the wall, up and down and to the sides. And then just use the legs just gently, just to sort of shift one hip and then the other hip. Like you're sort of giving that area a bit of a massage against the wall, but just gentle. You don't want the other side to come off the wall too much. And let the movements drive you even more into the legs. I have to do this because it's the only way I can get my legs to hurt. Okay, and then just round. Yeah, so we're sort of more imbued now with the sort of the quality of the thing we're on. Yeah, so the cold wall is now inside me. The cold ground is underneath me, coming up into me. Okay, so let's just bring it up. Yeah, so just feel the Dan Qian. You want the Dan Qian to be quite tight. You know, like the ring muscle that's just tight, the sphincter that has to be tight to keep stuff in. And you want that sense of tightness here to loosen the hips. This is what's difficult for people to get their mind around, that you can use local tension to relax the vicinity. If I just try and relax the whole thing, then it leaks, yeah? And it's always going to pull back when your mind leaves it. Yes, just want that sense of like a tight core, and then the rest of me can just really relax, but not in a flaccid way, in a sort of toned, useful way. You just become sort of capable. Yeah, and you can work on that when you're driving. It's useful time. It's the only time people are on their own, and they waste it by putting the radio on. Yeah, and it could actually just be really quiet time, because your conscious mind is sort of distracted with the road, and so it frees up the mind you can work with, the body mind. Okay, so let's finish.